All right, then, it is time to take a closer, more analytical look at the week's top news stories with our Powerhouse Roundtable.
And we have a great one for you today. Some introductions first. Veteran journalist Rosemary O'Hara is the editorial page editor of the Sun-Sentinel. Ed Pozzoli is president of the Tripp Scott Law Firm in Fort Lauderdale and an active voice in the Republican Party. H.T. Smith is a Miami attorney and a South Florida legal icon and a law professor at Florida International University. Welcome, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you here. Rosemary, the Sun-Sentinel, your page, has quite a good editorial this morning, which, as I read it, essentially, if I'm reading correctly, says, Visit Florida deserves taxpayer support in the legislature. Enterprise Florida, not so much.
That's
Explain.
Right. Okay, Visit Florida is help telling the world about the glory of Florida, why to come here to visit, bring your tourist dollars here. And the state economist said that tourism, because of the growth in tourism, it's actually off-putting some of the loss to general revenue in real estate. So I actually disagree with you on that soccer team. I think having Visit Florida on the thing, because the United Britain is such a big, brings so many tourists here.
What about the Pitbull? Are you agree on the Pitbull contract, the $1 million?
No, but that gets to why does the legislature pass these things that allow these organizations to hide so much? Right. There's too many exemptions to the Sunshine Law. That's a separate issue. Yeah. There needs to be more transparency. For me, on Enterprise Florida, it is about government picking winners and losers in the marketplace. And when the governor is out there trumpeting the opening of a Wawa, which I hear they're really great stores.
Wait, what's
the Subway?
a Wawa?
Oh, it's a convenience store that makes great food.
Oh.
But apparently, it's a real competitor to the owner of 5 Subway franchises down the street.
Right.
Why are we?
Yes,
and some of these big outfits that have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars, like Sanford Burnham in Orlando, leave town. They get the money. They're not going to pay it back. So, let the marketplace, who's going to decide which businesses survive and which don't.
Ed?
I'm so happy you're on our side now. Marketplace, let the marketplace decide. Let's keep that consistent through the rest of the debate now. Rosemary, you point out a great piece around this. There's a debate that how are we spending limited government resources? And should we be spending it on Enterprise Florida? Should we be spending it on Visit Florida? Those are the debates, and that defines the debate and discussion between where Richard Corcoran is and where Rick Scott is.
But what we now have is empirical data that we can look at with regard to Enterprise Florida. There was a research done of 8 research companies that we'd given money to.
Right.
And basically they're supposed to get a certain number of jobs as a result of receiving millions and millions of dollars. Only 1 out of 8 were able to meet those goals. This is corporate welfare as far as I'm concerned. Number one, the governor is asking for $250 million to give to individuals picking winners and losers. This is one of the things that I absolutely positively agree with my Republican friend on. We shouldn't be picking winners and losers. And that's why Visit Florida is so great. We are a destination for the world. Right. We've got to promote that. We've got to continue to promote that. And I think in every Wawa can benefit, Subway can benefit, Republicans can benefit, and Democrats can benefit.
But here's the argument. Rick Scott will make the argument that says the marketplace includes other states that are driving money to try to draw businesses to relocate to their state. And so his counter would be that Florida needs to participate in that marketplace to try to counter, like Texas or Louisiana or Georgia as an example, to drive businesses and job opportunities to our state. That's his counter.
And I never thought I would agree with the Koch brothers, but the organization they fund called Americans for Prosperity is driving this debate in other states too.
Right.
And so you're right. If we get away with Enterprise Florida, we're not on a level playing field. But it's got to start somewhere, and the same conversation is happening in other states too. So let's dial it back.
But wouldn't the argument be if Florida is to be a state that is so attractive, it's about good schools, so people will move their kids. It's about a good regulatory system, which I know is one of the
transportation.
Transportation, not sitting in gridlock on I-95. Isn't that the argument behind it?
Yeah, that's the argument behind it. And I have no problem with the concept. But we have data showing that what we're doing is not working. I want us to compete with the rest of the nation with regard to the job. But you look at the empirical data, and the empirical data says the concept works, but not Enterprise, Florida. So that's what I oppose.
All right, if we can, I want to move on to the big national and local story of the week, which is the Trump administration's decision to have ICE and Border Patrol go after not just criminal aliens, but basically anybody in the country undocumented. And Rosemary, for South Florida, we're talking at least, I know in Miami-Dade and Monroe, 150,000. Certainly there are a lot in Broward County, Palm Beach County. So this, if they say we're not going to have mass deportations, but people are frightened.
You know, people don't want criminal, illegal, or undocumented people here. So the debate from last week where sanctuary cities and should those in the jails be held for ICE deportation, who disagrees with that? But the idea of using our deputies and our local police to become the immigration enforcement and asking people for their papers when they stop them absolutely is over the top. And we're not going to be able to fund this system. And we have to create, what happens? We have to create judicial systems. We have to create detention. We're going to do this for 12 million people. What are we not going to do if we fund that?
And we're going to have 10,000 new ICE agents and 5,000 new Border Patrol. You know, just the other day, it was reported in today's paper that Muhammad Ali's son was stopped. Ask about his religion. That is not what we should be doing.
You know, before we go further, I want to play a soundbite from the president in the middle of the week on this subject that really caused a lot of consternation. Here's President Trump.
We're getting gang members out. We're getting drug lords out. We're getting really bad dudes out of this country, and at a rate that nobody's ever seen before.
Bad hombres, Ed.
Bad dudes.
Well, let me go back to your opening. I think was slightly incorrect, Michael. It is about deporting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes. And so when we look at that, I think there's almost 100% support amongst American citizens around both protecting our border and removing illegal immigrants, those who are not here legally, and removing those who committed crimes. Now, look, this is a controversial issue. I don't know why. All the president did was double down on enforcing the law. And you're a man of the law, HT. That is the law of the land. If you want to petition the Congress to change immigration laws, then go ahead and do so and make the changes and do whatever you want with immigration. But right now, all the administration is doing is enforcing the law.
Not really, not exactly. And I am a man of the law. And when Obama was really getting rid of the bad dudes, he was the deporter-in-chief. That's what they call him, right?
Yeah.
But right now, the problem is that Donald Trump has given too much latitude to the people, the ICE and others. And so, do you go to jail for a broken? Do you picked up for a broken taillight? Because of you pick up for a fight? I don't know.
Well,
we don't know.
If you've got an ICE detainer and then you are held, the likelihood is that person is going to be deported, but it would be for a more serious felony other than a broken taillight.
Yeah, but he has not been as clear about his intentions for that 10,000 force as you were just now.
But John Kelly has.
But who speaks for the administration?
John Kelly has, and he's point blank said that's what we're looking at. And I think honestly, I don't understand the controversy here. You know, put aside the president's gift for hyperbole, but let's stay focused on exactly what the law says, and they're enforcing the law.
Well, so don't listen.
All right, everybody hold your thoughts for a minute. We do have to take a break for a minute. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Roundtable. Well, we are in the midst of a rock and roll roundtable. We have a great one here today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on, if we can, to the break that members of Congress just took this past week. Later on, we're going to have a little interview with Bill Nelson, who was in South Florida. One member of Congress who came home but didn't make himself readily available, in my view, is Senator Marco Rubio. He was invited to a town hall meeting, Ed, in Tampa. He chose not to attend. That's all right. He was invited to one in Southwest Miami-Dade. He chose not to attend. He did go to a roundtable discussion at Jackson Memorial Hospital about opioids and the abuse of that and his interest there, and more power to him. But he really doesn't seem eager to sit down with a lot of his constituents.
Well, I'm not going to defend. He might have scheduling issues. I'm not going to get into that. What I am going to say is that we've seen it across the country around these town halls, and people are concerned about what the future of their health care is.
Sure.
Obamacare, let's understand, is failing. Big companies, Aetna, Humana, are pulling out. These exchanges are a failure. Rates are up. Choices are down. Relationships with doctors have been broken. I mean, this is an utter failure. It's a tremendous increase in taxes and a big burden on our economy.
All right, so let's see a replacement.
And that's what they're doing. And so let's get, there's one thing that I think we need to understand. President Trump only has so much power through executive order constitutionally. We've had this debate before about President Obama signing executive orders. We don't want him signing an executive order getting rid of Obamacare and replacing it. That's a legislative process, and it's a complicated one. We're talking about 20% of our economy, and we're talking about the most dearest of relationships that patients and doctors have. And there's a legitimate debate, even amongst Republicans, about how to do that, how you put market forces involved as opposed to a government mandate, how do you get rid of the taxes, how you do some of this with HSAs, or being able to sell across lines, all of those things.
It's complicated.
Well,
Nobody
very
disputes that.
Well,
Nobody.
Marco Rubio, along with the president, promised his supporters, on day one, I will repeal and replace Obamacare. Now we're on day 40, and what do we learn? For 7 years, they've been talking about this, and they're just like the dog that chased and caught the truck. I caught it. I don't know what the hell to do now, because I caught it. I guess I jump in the back and get a ride. Number one, people have not, clearly the system is better than it used to be. You have a child born with autism, and then you go to the insurance company to try to put your child on insurance, and they said, oh, they have a pre-existing condition. You said that's how they were born with it. They can never get insurance. You have someone have a serious heart problem, and they said, oh, you had $1 million cap, and so you're on your own from that. We've definitely improved things, and now the Republicans are in a real bind. They have no plan at all. Now, Ed is here. Ask Ed to tell you what their plan is. We figured, like my daughters say when I tell them to do work, we fixing to get to it, Daddy, but they never get to it.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm interpreting their plan to be. And first off, I would say that I would disagree with several of it is flawed, but it is not utterly fatal. But what I hear that their plan is to allow people to have health savings accounts and to get tax credits and then buy insurance across state lines. How does somebody who is middle income and can't afford today's premiums now save money incrementally for insurance when they need it today? Tax credits aren't really going to help lower in moderate means people buy insurance, and buying across state lines, I guess that allows that you can buy catastrophic policies, but you can buy those today. And just one more point on the town halls. You know, we saw these 8 years ago,
right,
when at the rise, and it gave rise to the Tea Party. So maybe today's town halls, and they do want to talk about Obamacare, and there are people who are dependent on Obamacare to get access to health care. Maybe today's town halls and the energy there will lead to some new populist movement that helps right the ship.
Now, the biggest issue in dealing with the replacement issue deals with Medicare. And so the Medicare expansion piece of that has to be dealt with. Medicaid expansion piece of that has to be dealt with. That's the most difficult issue with respect to impacting individual states.
Well, and also Bloomberg is reporting that the plan as it stands now will not be able to cover a significant portion
and
of
you
the people
can't
who
pay
now
for
have
it without an individual, without a mandate.
But
it won't.
Oh,
it-
wait,
the
wait, wait,
money-
Right.
wait!
number
What,
one-
Right.
what happened to the HT that started out all full throttle with the marketplace? I heard this marketplace argument for Rosemary and from you in the first issue, and this doesn't apply to healthcare. No, wait.
But just like
No,
the
no,
First
I
Amendment, there are
understand it.
exceptions.
No.
Do you think people have a fundamental right to health care,
I
or
think-
only if you
I
can
think-
afford it?
I think people have to have a skin in the game when they purchase health care, and without a skin in the game when they purchase health care, they don't care what it costs.
But the
We need to change that dynamic, and that's what some of these plans are. And I'm going to tell you, there's like 2 or 3 major plans that are being debated, and the guts of those are there. And with all due respect, 40 days in dealing with Obamacare and having that impact.
No.
I'm sorry.
Seven,
I'm sorry.
excuse
Wait,
me,
wait,
seven,
no.
7 years and
No.
40 days.
This is no.
They've been complaining for 7 years
Let
that it was bad.
Let Republicans work it through, and we're going to see this happen in the next couple of months. Whether you like it or not, we can
right.
debate that.
Well, you admit that
hold on,
Donald
HT.
Trump said that he would do it on day one.
Hold
didn't
on.
he?
And he did. He issued an executive
hold
order to his
on.
extent.
Don't do away
Before we-
with pre-existing conditions.
Before
trying
we,
not to.
All right. Okay.
before we
All
run
right.
out of time, I do want to bring up the question for those of us who are avid news followers and listen to National Public Radio locally on WLRN, that there is a big dispute there over whether the school superintendent, Alberto Carvalho in Miami-Dade, is going to really bring WLRN and have these reporters work for the school district or for an intermediate body. And Rosemary, you've also editorialized. What's your view here?
I think that the superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, overreacted in responding to what was, yes, a concerning financial irregularity, a miscommunication that WLRN reported to the government, reported to the school board, and addressed, and is moving and is continuing to figure it out. So he's right about that. But to take that issue and to say all these reporters now have to work for the school board, and he just, you know, WLRN is a community treasure that has grown into one that helps tell those stories of our community. The other thing I would say is he's backing off of that, and he has this little group of Miami-Dade people, but WLRN goes
It
from
serves
Key West to
Palm
northern
Beach.
Palm Beach.
Yes, it
you know,
does.
let some people from Broward County weigh in on whether we want to listen to the
I know,
school board
hold on,
meetings.
I know Superintendent Alberto Carvalho watches the show. So, Superintendent, there's some good advice for you. All right, we've run out of time. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank
Free
you.
market prevailed here today, Ed. All right.
Coming up.